was a kid, I ate like a pig and became quite the porker. And my mom would describe my room as a bit of a pigsty. Have pigs earned their inclusion in so many insults, or does the world's most popular meat provide some nutritional advantages that are hard to find in other foods? I studied the history of pigs in our diet, their nutritional value, and started eating pork every day while the rest of my diet remains completely stable so that I can answer the question, is pork healthy? And should we eat it?
I've had some form of pork with my eggs almost every day for the past decade, but somehow in the last 5 months on a carnivore diet, I haven't had either pork or eggs.
Over the past 7 months, I eliminated all food from my diet before adding them back in one at a time to learn how each new food affects me when everything else remains the same.
At this point, I'm a little bit worried about whether or not I can even tolerate it.
Humans have been eating animals for 2.5 million years. And pigs have been on the planet for over 40 million years, so it's likely that our ancestors were including them as a part of their diet. More than 2 million years spent eating pigs may explain why pork is one of our species' least common food allergies, and why a few months of abstinence is not enough time to develop an intolerance.
At this point, it's been so long since I've had pork that I actually forgot how much cheaper it is than beef.
Humans began domesticating pigs around 9000 BC, and they quickly became the cheapest source of meat that our ancestors could eat. Pigs have less than half the gestation period of cows, produce litters over 10 times the size, grow to slaughter weight in less than half the time, and will eat a diet of just about anything.
I have shit into the eager face of a pig. This was in Sumatra, and it's squat toilets, right? It's just a hole. No plumbing or anything. And I look through the hole, and there are all these pigs down there, just looking up with shit all over their faces. Like,
when a man tells you that he's shit into a pig's mouth, you look at him differently forevermore.
You look at bacon differently.
We can only speculate about why some religions ban their adherents from eating pork, but a pig's diet and behavior are two of my top culprits.
Apparently the best thing to do is cut up a corpse into 6 pieces. Then I hear the best thing to do is feed them to pigs. A single pig can consume 2 pounds of uncooked flesh every minute. Hence the expression, as greedy as a pig.
Moses and Muhammad famously prohibit their people from eating pork. And these two Abrahamic religions were not alone. Every culture in the ancient Near East forbid their people from sacrificing pigs to their gods, relegating these unclean beasts to converting garbage into fuel for people who couldn't afford more desirable animals. Something that hasn't seemed to change for the past 10,000 years.
I actually never really knew how cheap pork chops were because the only type of pork I ever bought was deli meat, ham, sausage, bacon, all of which I'm still going to have to wait a little bit longer to eat. Same with this stuff.
Despite getting some bad press in some rather famous publications, pork products grew in popularity through the Roman Empire, medieval Europe, and modern schools. Pork cures well in salt and smoke, producing a delicious meat that can be safely stored for future use. Delicious taste and safe storage were incredibly valuable in a time before refrigeration. But I want to know if uncured pork has any value for us in the present day. Curious to see how this A, tastes, and B, affects me after not consuming any pork products for more than 3 straight months. Bon appetit. Might look like a ribeye. Not quite as good. But it is better than a top sirloin. Maybe even a filet mignon. Modern foods make us think that cheap and delicious are synonymous with bad and unhealthy. But with natural foods, our taste buds are a nutritional compass, pointing us towards the foods that are good for our health. First full day with pork back in my diet, and definitely no consequences yet. Woke up this morning with more energy and enthusiasm about the day than I've felt in weeks. Eating like a pig might turn you into a porker, but eating more pig might help you look better while you're porking. While cuts of pork from the belly are very high in fat and calories, Cuts from the loin are actually quite lean, containing as many as 24 grams of protein and just 120 calories.
Feeling pretty great since adding pork back into my diet, and I don't know if it's because I'm excited about having a new food that I can eat, or if the pork is actually filling some nutritional deficiencies.
Pork contains every essential amino acid and a wider variety of micronutrients than almost any food that people call super. But pork doesn't have quite as many nutrients as beef, and the fat it does contain has a worse omega-6 to 3 ratio, in some cases getting as high as 30:1. That can be a bit of a problem, considering that a healthy ratio is closer to 1:1, and that's nothing compared to the problems that you'll experience if you don't cook pork to the proper temperature.
I've been fighting a losing battle with my toilet for the past few days.
I can't say for sure that the pork is making me constipated, but I definitely know that the meat is contaminated. Ruminant animals like cows and sheep have multiple stomachs to detoxify their foods. Pigs have just one stomach to detoxify the kinds of foods that my industrial plumbing is struggling to handle.
I don't know what his consulting fee would be, but I was just seriously considering texting my friend's brother who's a gynecologist to see if he had any pointers for how to give birth to a fetus-sized log.
Not only do pigs have just one stomach to detoxify foods like these logs, but they also can't sweat to reduce their body temperature and release toxins. Instead of sweating to cool down, they'll roll around in mud baths, which may contain their own feces. It's not surprising to learn that more than 70% of pigs are infected with parasites and bacteria, including Trichinella and Yersinia. Cooking pork to a high enough temperature will kill these pathogens, but turn the temperature too high and you can create carcinogens, including heterocyclic amines.
I think we've been in a global pandemic for around 6 months now, and it has never even crossed my mind to pray to God for it to come to an end. But I was just sitting in that bathroom for what felt like 2 hours, pleading with God to bring my misery to an end.
Please, God.
Between their anatomy, diet, and behavior, it was probably easy for our ancestors to recognize the health risks of eating pork. It was probably also difficult to convince an entire society not to eat an animal that converts garbage into delicious calories, unless you had a mandate from God. Some people don't like modern explanations for religious traditions.
Well, this is also the argument against pork, is because they didn't understand trichinosis. They understand you have to cook the meat to 145 degrees.
I'm not a huge fan of naturalistic explanations for religion.
Don't you think that's a good one, though, for pork?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I think you could make an argument, maybe.
But after reflecting back on my past experience at a farm, it seems pretty obvious that our ancestors would recognize the connection between pork and disease.
When I was about 11 years old, I had a hockey coach that took us to a pig farm for some reason, and now, almost 2 decades later, I am being haunted by that memory. The only pigs I ever saw before this experience were either in movies or on my sandwiches, so I definitely wasn't expecting that they were going to be the size of a car, or the scent of an outhouse, or the color and texture of a used piece of toilet paper.
The pig farm that I went to was a small local operation, so I'm sure the disgust I felt was nothing compared to what I would feel if I witnessed the horrors of a factory farm.
Eating pork every day is really making me think about that farm, and it's making it a bit more challenging to get through this.
Industrial pig farms are the most unethical of all of the concentrated animal feeding operations, confining animals that are smarter than dogs to cages barely larger than a kennel. With 97% of US pork coming from factory farms, you should try and get your pork from an ethical source by shopping with a company like True Local. True Local works with farms near you to source healthy animal products and deliver them to your door. Click the link in the description below this video to find the range of animal products that True Local offers in your area. Because for me, knowing that I'm getting my food from a healthy, ethical source makes all of my meals far more enjoyable.
Overall though, still delicious.
I might have had one day that helped me build empathy with expecting mothers, but otherwise there weren't any immediate consequences to eating pork every day. Pigs may be garbage disposals that are infected with parasites, but cooking pork to a high enough temperature will kill any contaminants. Buying pork from pigs that were raised on a healthier diet and lifestyle through companies like True Local will still be less expensive than buying red meat, while providing you with all of the essential amino acids and a wide variety of micronutrients. While these pigs may have a better omega-6 to 3 ratio than their industrial counterparts, the fat still is not as healthy as the fat from beef, And eating pork does not provide any additional nutrients that you can't get from red meat. Strictly from a health perspective, eating pork is better than eating no meat, but if you're going to choose a meat, beef, bison, or other ruminant animals are a better first choice. For now, I'm going to stop eating pork every day, but I am going to keep it a part of my diet. My life has got a lot better since I've been adding new foods to my diet, and my social life is a lot easier. It's good to have dietary options again, especially one that makes the perfect side dish for the next food that I'm going to add. Eggs. If you want to learn about the history of eggs in our diet, their nutritional profile, and see how it affects me to start eating eggs every day when the rest of my diet remains completely stable, then subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon to get notified when I upload the results from all of the health tests that I took before starting and after finishing a carnivore diet. Thank you for watching, and I'm excited to continue sharing this journey with you.